Your mother is a very interesting woman, Oz.
I know what my mother is.
She helped me realize a few things. I keep trying on all these different faces, but
None of them feel quite right.
Hey! 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 What the fuck is going on?
you think you know what I want.
That is the same for you and me. Of course you do.
Because this game was made for men like you. Like my father.
Same winners, same losers.
It's why everyone expected me to die in Arkham.
No one even considered that I might
Learn something there.
how to play new games. I left you a present.
Did you find it yet?
Greetings and welcome to House of R, a Ringerverse podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. I'm Mallory Rubin, and it is my absolute pleasure to invite you not only back to Crown Point, but also back into the House of R. Joining me today, observing that this Antonucci's does not look like it traveled well, it's Joanna Robinson.
Mallory Rubin, what a joy to be here with you on this not at all nausea-inducing day that is Election Day 2024. So excited to be here with you. So excited to talk about the Penguin. You're the best.
Joe,
Mal.
we are here to chat about the Penguin, specifically episodes 5, 6, and 7. We're doing a little catch-up pod today. We'll be issuing our superlatives for the latest batch of episodes. But before we ask Vic if he's a sneakerhead now, some quick programming reminders. Over on the Ringerverse, a mammoth button mash is coming on Friday on a number of different games, including your new publicly declared passion, Mario and Luigi Brothership. Are you excited?
Yeah.
You still as excited for this as you've been?
The Mario brothers? Yes. I love them.
Saturday.
Mario.
Junior Mints, get ready. Mint Edition on Arcane Season 2, Part 1. Not to overstate it, but this is a pod 3 years in the making.
Correct.
Tune in.
No fewer than 1 gajillion emails. When are you guys covering Arcane? Here we go.
I cannot wait for this. I cannot wait to watch Arcane, and I cannot wait to listen to the pod. Here in the House of R, we will be back with you at the end of the week for a podcast.
Let's just take a peek behind the curtain. We are hesitant to say exactly what it is, just in case it falls through. No matter what, though, we will have something fun for you at the end.
We
of
will
the
have
week.
an episode. Yes. And then we will be back at the top of next week to chat about the Penguin finale.
Yes.
Wonderful stuff.
Exciting.
You can watch full episodes of this podcast, House of R. And you can watch full episodes, video podcasts of Midnight Boys, Pew Pew, on Spotify and on the Ringerverse YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Joe, how can everybody follow along in addition to that?
Wow. Thrilled and honored and just genuinely touched that you asked me this, and also that you covered the video part, because you know I always mess it up. So thank you, Mallory Rubin. Listen, why don't you just follow the pod? That might be a good thing. Like, just subscribe to the pod, maybe on your podcatcher of choice, hopefully Spotify, but whatever you prefer. Subscribe to House of R, subscribe to the Ringerverse. You can follow us on social. We are on X, we are on Instagram, we are on TikTok. There's a Facebook group.
Did you just say X? Have they gotten you?
No, I go back and forth. It's a stressful day. Don't grill me.
All right. You're right. I support you. I love you and I support you.
I also want to say we don't usually sort of like back promote, but I do want to say if you haven't had a chance to watch or listen to our Agatha All Along finale podcast, the showrunner Jack Schaefer just was so generous with her time and with her answers for us, and we just had a wonderful conversation with her that I think is just really worth listening to or watching if you've got a couple hours to spare. The interview itself's not a couple hours. The podcast is.
That was so fun. I absolutely loved that interview. Loved that pod.
Really,
loved that season of television. Loved talking about it with you.
I know. I'm really sad that it's over. But here we are in the Penguin. So, okay. So I said all of that stuff. And then also, what about hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com?
Indeed.
That's our email address. And you can always email us about anything you so choose. People are still signing it with their pickle, signing it with their apple choices, signing it Namarie. Like we're still getting all the greatest hits are happening in the inbox all the time. So thank you so much for your emails. Keep them coming as we look forward to things like Silo, Dune Prophecy, all the stuff that's on the horizon that we're really excited about, or in the Penguin finale thoughts. We would love to hear them when you get a chance to see that episode.
Craven the Hunter.
Craven the Hunter. Gladiator. How about let's compromise? Gladiator. Yeah.
Thighs o'clock. All right. Last programming reminder. You know what it is. It's the friendly neighborhood spoiler warning. Today's podcast will feature plot points from The Penguin. Every episode of The Penguin that's aired to this point. We'll be talking a lot about 5, 6, and 7, but if it's happened this season, it might come up today. If it happened in The Batman, it might come up today. If it happened in DC Comics, it might come up today. It's entirely possible. Okay. Joe, the City Hall fucks are sitting in some fancy private club drinking orange wine. Oz with the orange wine shot. That really got me. I love an orange wine. Let me say that. Anyway, no orange wine for us right now, just coffee and water.
True.
Some bubbly for you, I think.
No free ads.
Let's pod. Let's begin, as always, with the opening snapshot. Joe, we are going to chat about episode 5, Homecoming, episode 6, Gold Summit, and episode 7, Top Hat. Just like for the first pod that we did on The Penguin, our mid-season catch-up, we have 10 awards coming shortly, 10 superlatives. There are some repeat superlative categories. There are some new ones. But before we get to them, quick overall impressions of this stretch of The Penguin. What did you make of 5, 6, and 7?
I thought we both agreed that 3 and 4 were just extremely wonderful episodes of television. And so I think I felt a little bit of a dip in this stretch. I thought 7 was quite strong. You and I think, agree on that. But I did think 5 and 6 felt like a little bit of a dip for me, but not like a significant dip. But my sort of strongest takeaway, putting all this together, thinking about the episodes, putting together our superlatives, is I was like, all my candidates for favorite scenes, all my candidates for, favorite character moment or like fashion moment, or it was all Sophia stuff.
Interesting.
And so I think not only is Kristen Milioti absolutely crushing it, I just think at least in this stretch, the writers seemed have much more to say about, despite the main flashback centering on Oz, much more to say about Sophia and who she is and what's on her mind. I just think all of that stuff was executed more successfully. And there's just like a number of key Sophia and another scene partner conversations that really stood out to me in these episodes. And I could not say necessarily the same thing for Oz. And I say this as genuinely the world's biggest Colin Farrell fan. I love Colin Farrell.
Same.
But and I have thought that some of the previous episodes did a better job of like keeping Oz a very compelling figure, but this was felt a little muddled to me. And I think especially episode 5 felt especially sort of directionless, in sharp relief with the laser focus of 3 and 4 on specific characters. 5 just felt sort of like leftovers, and leftovers can be quite delicious, but they're maybe not as good as a day of fresh meals. So I really liked episode 7, and we'll talk about finale anticipation in a second, but where were you on 5 through 7?
I have enjoyed the show the entire way. So I liked this batch as well. I agree with you on 5. That was probably the episode of the season that like compelled me the least so far. I also agree that nothing in this run of episodes matched 3 and 4 for me.
Yeah.
I also agree with you that everything about Sophia is just like God tier right now.
Yeah.
Truly tremendous. And so the recalibration around Oz versus Sophia as like the central thrust that's driving this season is very interesting to me. I think the one thing we're not aligned on is that I actually really enjoyed these episodes from the Oz perspective. So I'm now anticipating in a way that will be fun that we maybe have some different picks coming for our categories, maybe more variants than we had in the mid-season pod. So that'll be nice. What is your finale anticipation? We've only got 1 left. We're 7 through.
Yeah.
We have 8 remaining. Are you looking forward to it? Do you think they're going to be able to pull it off? What feels most keen to you at this moment in time heading into the final installment?
Had you asked me mere hours ago, my answer would have been different. But right before we started recording, our beloved Stephen Allman, who has already seen the finale episode and I have not, told me that he thought it was tremendous and that they really like stuck the landing and had a wonderful finale, and it just like really was solid. So now I'm just like I'm very excited. I was just like
Wow.
I was just a little nervous because this just felt like we were on like slight downward trend in the season, or just like a little bit, but as often the case in like the middle of a season can feel a little softer than the beginning or the end. So if the finale is gangbusters, as Stephen has promised me on his life and soul, then you know I'm excited. I'm very excited. What about you?
Yeah, I'm hyped. I think that because in the opening 4, the first 2 were less successful in our minds than 3 and 4. The fact that 5 gripped me a little bit less didn't really throw me all that much because it felt like such an active reset in terms of what the kind of just like central focus of the character dynamic was going to be and the conflict was going to be. So because I felt really positive about episode 7, I'm like, okay, maybe we're on another upswing.
Yeah.
Like we were at the end of the first half. I'm really looking forward to the finale. I feel genuinely very, very worried, not about the show doing a good job, but about like basically every character.
Victor,
the level of tension is so high. Yeah. For so many people that I like that. I like going in with my nerves on edge and in a way that makes it feel like I have invested in the characters to this point. So,
I mean, especially since we don't know anything about the future. Like this is a limited series, right?
Yeah.
And like,
who knows what we're getting from here with these characters?
Everything we know about what's going on at DC right now is that like James Gunn is sort of like actively quashing Matt Reeves' projects. So like this might be it. And so, you know, you think of something like Colin Farrell's a Penguin and you're like, well, he has to live because the show's called The Penguin. Well, not if it's like a limited series and we're getting maybe one more Batman movie from Matt Reeves in this world and that's it. Like, you know, so yeah, everything's on the line. And that's exciting place to be. So yeah.
Should we go to our superlatives?
Let's do it.
Hit the highlights?
Let's do it.
Steve, can you set the mood for us?
The fuck? Come on, Jesus Christ! You're supposed to destroy me, Sal. You know, show me what a big man you are. What a fucking big man you are. Huh? Well, I got you. I fucking got you. You filthy, stupid prick. Fuck you. Trying to steal from me. Trying to take what's mine. What I built. What'd you say? I didn't hear you. Say it again. Yeah. I didn't think so. I beat you, Sal Maroni. I win.
You know, awards. You know what Oz would bring to an awards rundown after hearing that. Felt like the right way to enter into this shared exercise. All right, Joe, we are going to begin with the same category we started with in our mid-season pod. Favorite episode. We've both already said episode 7, Top Hat.
Yeah.
Why?
I think it's not just there's the really juicy flashback stuff for Oz, the revelation about what happened with his brothers, a tremendous performance from this kid playing young Oz. We both really, really liked
So
him.
good.
We
I
loved,
also
yeah.
just loved him in the little inside the
Yeah.
episode, listening to him analyze Oz. It's like, give this kid a podcast. Let's go.
Strong theater kid energy off that kid, and I love it. Also great stuff from the young woman playing younger Frances, I thought. So like just really good flashback stuff, but then also incredible Sophia stuff in this episode.
Yeah.
And a little less Victor. Like Victor has been a little well, no, actually I was not sure. He had big stuff happen in the stretch of the episode. So yeah, episode 7, just like our two leads had some like juicy revelatory moments. Sal Maroni goes out like an absolute chump, which I was a little dissatisfied by, but then that clip you just played of like Oz's reaction to like, this is it. This is what winning feels like. Feels so empty. I thought was really effective. So yeah.
This was a very tense, very tight penultimate episode. This is the official runtime is 47 minutes, and that includes the previously on the credits, like all of that. So this was easily the shortest episode of the season, I think. And much like Sophia's Arkham flashbacks in episode 4, I just loved the young Oz origin story, the flashbacks that bookended this episode, and the insights that they provided about Oz and Frances. This is, like you said, an amazing Frances episode in both the past and the present. Oz and Rex. Rex has been this like specter across the season, and to get to like really see young Oz look at him and interact with him and call out to him, even though his brother told him not to, lust after the gold car, etc. And then everything with Jack and Benny with the brothers. Spoiler alert, I've got more coming on that in another category, so I'll save my thoughts on that. But it wasn't just a great flashback episode, like you said. Oz killing Sal, I think I have some notes for the Maronis on their tactics. I would go into this lair with more men or make sure that there were fewer men from Oz's camp in there. But I thought the shit pipe comment from Sal, another way to just show us what other people think of Oz, the low esteem they hold him in, like a lot of shorthand in this episode to effectively reinforce his position in Gotham. Yeah. And that response that Oz had to Sal dying, I just loved what it told us about him. The rage that he feels, even though his foe is dead. And as Oz is saying, he has won. Like the fact that he couldn't be responsible, that he couldn't kill him. He just needs such control over every outcome. And like you said, on the Sophia front, and I think this is among the reasons why this was the best episode of the stretch. I think like part of why I picked 3 last time as my favorite over 4, even though 4 was so great, is because like we talked about at the time, I'm really enjoying the episodes that give us a lot of balance across the protagonists, like that make room for both Oz and Sophia inside of the episodes. I thought that modern day Sophia Frances scene was electric. The unrelenting vitriol that Frances spews at Sophia, shitting on the man. It's like, what, you don't like color? Mocking Sophia's daddy issues, calling her an easy mark for Oz.
You're stealing my favorite scene. You're smuggling my favorite scene into your favorite episode.
I will say no more about it other than that, like, of course, I respected that Sophia met that in equal measure with what she said to Ma in turn, which I'll look forward to talking about when you have that coming in a later scene. Sophia and Gia, I also thought was just incredible. The way that like, it was interesting to hear too after the episode that they repurposed the Arkham set for Brookside. Yeah. So literally when those memories are resurfacing, it's like she is walking through her own trauma. And then to see her start with the lie and then immediately just sit down and say this horrible thing out loud to this little girl because she had to confront the fact that she was doing to Gia what her family did to her was incredibly effective. And then, how that builds into Sophia's decision when she goes to Julian and says, like, I went from one institution to another, and then decides to issue that challenge to Oz to not back down. It wasn't the twist that there's a bomb in the car instead of Frances's body. I think we all saw that coming. That was not a surprise. Right. It was what she said. It's what we heard at the top of the episode. Like, you think you know what I want? The way that Sophia has emerged as a character who is ready to say to everyone, you don't know what I want. The thing I want is not the thing you want for me, or that you want for yourself, or that you've been trying to tell me I want my entire life. And it's just, it's amazing to watch. I'm with you 100% on Sophia. So this was, the Victor light nature of the episode was kind of like the only knock on it for me. Other than that, I really loved it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna roll into my favorite scene.
Do it. Favorite scene.
I didn't mean to throw a small hit
No.
while you were
Let's
talking
do
about it. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like, oh no. But
favorite scene, second category. Hit us.
I think like the smuggle for me in this is Gia and Sophia, Eve and Sophia, and Francis and Sophia. I think all of those scenes were truly incredible.
I have the Eve one coming later. That was great.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll put a pin in that. But like the Francis stuff was so good to me because I think, and coupled with the Gia scene, because shining this light on, because we're watching Sophia's rise and her like makeover, how her hair gets like even punkier, mulletier, and like the eye makeup gets more dramatic, and the scars.
I can't wait for your thoughts on the mullet. I'm so excited.
The scars are on full display. Like everything is just sort of like bumped up. And then for Francis to so derisively say like, are you going to dye your hair pink and a tattoo on your ass? You know, daddy won't like that. You know, like all of that stuff, like just so, and for her to like take, like absorb that and just be like, fuck, that is what I'm doing, you know, to a certain degree. So like we were rooting for her on this rise, and for the show to then be like, wait, but is she not breaking the wheel? Is she just participating in it once again to watch her watch Gia, for her to process that, to stand outside the room and process that. Again, Crystal Milioti is just like absolutely incredible. And then also just the compassion she has. Like, yes, she will shoot Johnny Vitti in the head, and we might come back to that. Or,
dude,
you know,
I remember on the last pod, I was like,
the character we most want to spend time with.
In the second half to learn everything there is to know about Johnny Vitti. And it turned out it was just that he got really cold in the mausoleum and then got shot in the head in front of everyone.
I was thinking of you keenly when that happened. I was like, well, curtains for Johnny Vitti.
Tough.
You know, so, you know, or the thing I texted you about was she has this like sadomasochistic sexual relationship with Dr. Julian Rush. And my main note for her in general is like, aftercare is an important part of that dynamic, and she just offers him none. And I'm just saying, this is my constructive criticism for her.
Yeah.
If you want to, I think she doesn't give a shit about Julian, but I'm just saying, you're losing loyal henchmen by the day. He seems quite devoted. If you want to keep that going, practice just a little bit of aftercare. That, you know, tie him up, cut him up, whatever it is you do, but then you got to cuddle afterwards. You got to make sure that he feels okay. That's what aftercare is, you know?
When you texted me about aftercare,
what did you think I meant?
So I thought you meant I thought you were gonna have some like hygiene notes, not necessarily some emotional notes. I thought we were gonna have a little bit of a like, you know, Roz had her vag bowl after Pycelle, etc. And Sophia just sort of like gets dressed and then goes to sit down to have a meal.
Oh,
like,
I'm sorry.
Let's clean up a little.
I thought I was talking about the bowl washing. No, I meant like, you know, you have your power dynamic fun, and then you have to like show the person that you care about them. I know she doesn't actually care about Julian, but here we are. No. Anyway, I love this abrupt turn where we're tracking Sophia's rise, and we're like, yes, like girl boss, like do it, and then we're brought up short by Francis and by Gia and by Sophia herself to be like, oh no, is this actually? And this is the trap you fall into all the time when you find yourself rooting for an antihero, right? When you find yourself rooting for Walter White or something like that, you're like, yeah, fuck everyone else up. Absolutely. And then Skylar White's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Sophia? So I want genuinely what's best for her in life. That's probably not on offer in Gotham, but that is something that I would like for her. And yeah, her compassion for Eve, her compassion, it's what I'm choosing to call it for Gia, and her compassion for Frances, and her respect for those other women, I think was a really compelling part of these couple episodes for me.
I agree. I think to the point about how the show is forcing us to confront the villainous nature of both of the leads, that's been the great achievement of the series so far. We do have such empathy for both Sophia and Oz, but then I keep spoiling and tipping all of my picks. I don't know what's wrong with me. Not to get ahead and we're going to talk about Victor and Squid more later, spoiler, but something like that. When Victor decided to stay, we cheered. Like I was happy that he was with Oz, even though I was mourning the better life that he didn't go lead, like that he didn't get on the bus. You want him and Oz to be together, but he should leave, and then you see how quickly he loses his innocence when he stays, and it's just like the show making us complicit in that is, I think, very effective.
I agree. Like I think if his decision to stay hadn't come so close to the first murder he commits via vehicle, like he shows up and we're excited that he has rescued Oz, but then they like betray Sophia in that very second, and Victor kills someone with a car. I presume that person did not survive that.
Maybe it's just like a bruised pelvis.
No, that's what Dr. Julian Rush has. So like, I think that like, I think Victor's all these steps that Victor's take have been associated with a bit of dread. There's watching them watch the sunrise at the end of episode 1. It has all the trappings of like a hopeful future, but every step Victor takes is deeper into, and for like people who've watched The Wire and watched characters like Michael on The Wire, like you've watched stories like this before where you're just sort of like, Victor, I'm rooting for you. I care so much about you, but every step you take is closer to like a path of no redemption for you. And in fact, you might already be there, and that's devastating to watch. So yeah.
That was on the Sophia Frances scene. That was the other thing I really loved about it was, because again, there are these parallels across the characters. They're all different. They have their specific circumstances, but they share so many traits. And so it's extra powerful to hear Sophia, not only because she is standing up in active resistance to Frances, saying like, you're an easy mark, etc., but the way that she said, but those things don't make you a monster, do they? Someone shaped him.
Yeah.
And like, makes us think about that, makes Frances think about that. And then like, well, who is that person for Victor? It's Oz, and the way that the cycle continues. Those scenes were great.
Person for Gia, is it Sophia? Like, and I think that for Frances specifically, so Deirdre O'Connell, who is like a Tony Award winning actress, like there have been scenes in previous episodes where I was just sort of like, this feels a bit one note. This feels a bit, like irritating to a certain degree. But her scene with Sophia and some of her stuff with Victor in these episodes just really, really landed for me in a way that I really loved. So
I agree.
her Oz cuddling with her in bed, maybe not so much.
What did you have more notes on? The full-on spoon sesh in bed, or the way that he was like painting her like a doll and applying her makeup and then telling her how gorgeous she looked?
It was
powerful.
It was the spoon. It was the spooning.
Yeah.
It was the spooning for me. And at least she was like, get the fuck off me. But when he like got it in the first place, I was like, too close, too close, too close. What are we doing? Too close. I hated it. It
was where we were getting into full on like Game of Thrones incest territory.
I mean,
at that point. We were.
This is part of young Oz's motivation, right? Like he wants his mom's full attention.
Loves a snuggle.
Yeah.
Loves a snuggle.
Just to snug up and watch Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Who says no?
Lot of runtime for Ginger.
For Fred and
in
Ginger.
This stretch of episodes. Yeah. My favorite scene.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a smuggle. My smuggles also involve Sophia, but I am going with I actually pride myself. Unlike last pod, I'm not picking a favorite scene from the favorite episode. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. So I am going with a episode 5 and an episode 6 duo here.
Mhm.
The Sal and Sophia impromptu meals.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna call this smuggle.
Yeah.
I thought this is like in general a fascinating dynamic. It's great to get more. We were saying in the mid-season pod, like, oh yeah, Clancy Brown. Like it was great.
I had a
until he-
similar moment when he died. I was like, well,
yeah, until he dropped dead in the trolley.
burn
It
for
was
Clancy, I guess.
nice to get a little bit more with Sal. So episode 5 is when Sophia finds him in his hideout after the hit from Oz backfires, and Sal's basically like, thanks for the keys along with the ship. Great stuff.
Badass.
Wild. And I just love the way that Sophia arrived. You know, you hear the gunfire first, and then it's like, what funky hideout? Big fan of wood, I see. You think Sophia watches Curb? Like, do you respect wood? Then we get the line about, you know, the insight into Sophia's thoughts on how takeout travels and holds up. I'd like to talk to Sophia about my personal feelings about the delivery economy.
Can I
When
just
she
tell you?
told-
Can I tell you a life-changing situation?
Sure.
The town that I live in right now has very
Mhm.
paltry delivery options. This is a
Yeah.
trade-off for moving from Oakland to the Slate Sticks. But the vegan restaurant, which is amazing, has this incredible nachos they make. When they deliver, the nacho
Mhm.
stuff comes separate from the chips.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise,
Well,
it would
you
be too
say, of
soggy.
course, but I think that most delivery nachos don't take that step, and then it's just Sog City. And I just want to applaud this particular restaurant and their fake meat. It's great stuff.
Sog City. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm putting it up there with Soggy Bottom. Great one. Great work. Whether it was that the food was too soggy or too congealed, who can say? But what we do know for sure is that Sophia was like, here's what my dad thought of you. He thought you were too sentimental. He thought you were too weak. And the thing I loved about this scene then is that the bridge to their surprising alliance is that the thing that Carmine hated about Sal is the thing that Sophia craves. This guy actually gave a shit about his family. So when she says, my driver betrayed me, the daughter of the Don, and then was rewarded, like, would you have done this? Would you have let this stand? And of course the answer is no. He says, I would have ripped out his tongue and left him for the vultures. And that brings me to then the second part of this smuggle, the episode 16 on the heels. This was my, I think, like, again, it's favorite scene of the stretch here. Post Julian.
The thing that I loved is that I wrote down in my notes, like with an eye roll, oh, here comes like the stereotypical we're making the sauce scene from like a mobster thing. And then he's making one of his wife's dishes.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah. The eggplants, the tomato, a little meat, try it with the yogurt. Like Taj liked it. Just in case Taj doesn't come up again today, by the way, let's take a quick moment here. This is not the pick from either of us for favorite scene, to be clear. However, the back tat and the TikTok posting on TikTok so that they knew where he was and could go kidnap him. And the fact that he's just like smoking and has his headphones on and is completely oblivious to his guards getting annihilated. Incredible stuff.
That was not, but it was almost my needle drop for the stretch was Taj's headphones. Taj's top of the line noise canceling headphones. Also the fact that the back tat is like a phoenix.
Ben Affleck.
Affleck core. Ben core.
Wonderful.
Bless his heart, as Jen Garner said. Bless his heart. Love it.
Oh, man. So Sophia goes from the room with Julian right out to the kitchen and finds Sal cooking the meal. It makes the comment about how fugitives really shouldn't leave their rooms, but then they just fall into such a easy rhythm with each other. The way that she offers to just help chop the vegetables. He tells her about learning that recipe from Nadia. She gives him the better bowls to use, the better china to use. And then like the way he watches her inhale the meal, how ravenous she is. We talked about that in the last pod, life after Arkham. And just the way that his emotion over his family after she mentioned Taj was threatening to consume him, but then they kind of both pull their focus back to this shared mission of Oz. I just really love that scene. And, you feel on the heels, especially of the forging of the alliance in episode 5, they're both craving this thing. They couldn't get it with their own families for very different reasons, right? But they couldn't get it. And so now they have it with each other very briefly. but
Well,
they do. And I thought that was lovely.
Sal and Sophia together, but also Sophia and Oz. Like the parallels are crazy in
Yeah.
terms of like, you know, the big speeches they give about like, you know, the fat cats didn't
They don't know our
respect
names.
you, and I will,
Yeah.
you can own this with me, all that sort of stuff. And that like thirsting for connection and family.
Yeah.
Oz creepily with his mom, less creepily with Victor, and Sophia creepily with Julian and less creepily with Sal. Yeah, I thought I loved that scene. It was great.
Yeah.
Great pick.
It was really good. On the parallel front, I do really love that the right down to like specific language, Sophia and Oz both forging their new families with the they don't know our names pitch was great.
Also, on the Sal Sophia front, I didn't I wanted to use this for my Sophia clip that we're about to talk about next, but it didn't really translate. But it's when Sal turns on the fireplace, the music starts, and she just goes like, I know. Right? Like,
love a callback.
Yeah. I know.
Wonderful stuff. Okay, let's get to our next category, which is our favorite Oz and Sophia clips yet again. Do you want to start with Oz or do you want to start with Sophia?
Oh, I have to start with my Oz clip, and you will soon hear why. Steve King playlist.
You know, not even a mile from here, there's a bunch of big-time city hall fucks. They're sitting in some fancy private club. They're drinking orange wine. They're making crooked deals to benefit them.
Drinking orange wine. I had to dedicate that to Mallory Rubin, #1 orange wine drinker in my life.
I love an orange wine. I do.
I don't think of you as the fat cat in City Hall making deals to benefit yourself, Mallory, but I was just like, wow, that was for you. I felt like that line was just for you. #1,
Same.
#1 orange drinker in my life. Orange wine drinker in my life.
Thanks, buddy.
You're
That's
welcome,
really sweet.
pal.
My Oz pick, it involves Councilman as well. Steve, can we hear my Oz clip?
Come here. Stop. Hey, stop. Oh, maybe I just talk to the Gazette. But they'd love to see how you paid your gambling debts with city funds. You think you could just raw dog the people of Gotham with an invisible dick, that it? Oh, shit.
Let me say this about Ozcop. Complicated legacy. This guy is a fucking poet.
Yeah.
You think you can just raw dog the people of Gotham with an invisible dick? This is what he says to Councilman Haiti at his car. That is astonishing.
Okay. But on the one hand, I agree that he is a poet. On the other hand, did you have a moment when he just coined the phrase "gold summit" to describe it? And I was just sort of like, okay, sure. Gold like the beer you're serving? I don't know. Like gold like all the money we're gonna make? What are you talking about?
The cooler full of beer in the back of the pickup was an incredible. I'm here to remind you that I'm just a kid from the east side.
Just a guy being a bro. Just a bro being a pal.
Oh, Oz. Okay, what's your Sophia clip?
Steve?
Nice! This was the best.
Let's play it.
What does he like? He's not that complicated. So, he's the best you've ever had. What else? He is destined for greatness. I used to lie to men like that. But you don't have to anymore. You have the power now. You are good at telling people what they want to hear.
Incredible.
Outstanding stuff. Great sequence between these two characters.
Oh, yeah.
And then like, because we had been anticipating this, right? We had watched Sophia clock her. We knew something like this was coming. I genuinely wasn't sure whether or not she was going to kill her in this scene. It really could have gone either way as far as I was concerned. That sort of shared the information, not like squeezed out via violence, but like sort of coaxed out via, shared point of view, a shared experience in the world, I thought was incredible. And then like obviously Kristen Milioti, really funny as she's circling her and doing this like
Yeah.
breathy line read, but then also for Eve to then do the same exact thing to her and her say, I see exactly what you're doing. You're doing what you did for him. I just thought it was wonderful. Great stuff.
This will be in the Emmy reel for sure. And I just thought I used to lie to men like that was one of the lines of the season, and one of the examples of how the show is effectively summing up a character's journey and evolution in shorthand. It was just incredible performance, incredible writing, great dynamic between two characters we were eager to see together. Perfect scene, perfect line. I used to lie to men like that. I have no notes. Genuinely none. This was wonderful. I think we're about to stay on Sophia for a second because based on our opening snapshot, my assumption our next category is most compelling character of this stretch. Are you going to hit Sophia here, or
it's Sophia? But I don't have much more to say in addition to what we've already said. What do you want to? Is Sophia your character? No, tell me who your character is and what you want to say about them. Is it Oz, Cab?
My character is Johnny Vitti. No,
Johnny
I'm
Vitti?
sadly not. If only.
It could have been Johnny Vitti.
I was deprived the opportunity to be compelled by Johnny Vitti in the second half of the season
of television. He could have been a contender, but no. He went to meet his lady love in the afterlife. Though he did have that great scene where he was talking about Sophia's mom. That was like a really good moment.
Shivering in the cold, begging for his life, only to get got at the table in front of everyone.
As a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm a huge fan of a mausoleum. So I was excited to see the mausoleum get used there. Okay, well, who is your character?
My character is Oz Cobb.
Okay, tell me why.
So as was the case last time, this was kind of a coin flip to me between Oz and Sophia.
Dr. Julian Rush? No?
Not Dr. Julian Rush,
okay.
No. I continue to have some notes for Dr. Julian Rush.
HIPAA has some notes too. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, indeed. My assumption was that you would have Sophia, so I thought I would go with Oz here. You know, I think we're covering like a lot of the particulars in other characters, but broadly, I felt like I gained in these episodes a deeper understanding of what drove Oz to this place, like why he is this way. And again, like we were already talking about, the way that these episodes forced us to confront that this guy's not, he's the protagonist, but he's not the hero of the story. He's a monster. And to see the things that he does to people, including the people in his life, like his brothers who he should protect, is absolutely harrowing. And I just love what a mess of contradictions he is. And I enjoyed the way that we got to really see that in a number of different respects across the episode, like across the episodes. When Victor goes to him after killing Squid, the way that Oz hugged him and whispered, "It gets easier."
Yeah.
I found that both so touching, that moment between them, and so chilling.
Yeah.
so chilling. Picking the underground trolley tunnels where he'd left his brothers to die as his new headquarters. Like, good God.
And
what does that tell us about Oz Cobb?
Watching him abandon his men at the end of this last episode and go through a similar, not the same, but a similar like hatch in the underground. I'm just sort of like, oh, so literally nothing has changed. And every time you make a bid for like family and camaraderie and we own this together, and like every single alliance he makes, he breaks as soon as possible, which is what, of course, good old Dr. Pierre Chang tried to say.
Called out. Yeah. At the Gold Summit. And everyone was like, I'm going to crack these beers anyway.
Yeah.
Like, he tried. I think, too, the way that in this stretch, Oz's inadequacy and boastfulness, like that loud superiority, but also all of the inferiority that's driving it, are just so palpably inextricable from each other. We already talked about the reaction to Sal's death, the appeal to Councilman Haiti, just even the initial approach there. Like, I'm not just Carmine's guy, you need to respect me, but also I'm here basically doing the dirty work myself. Like, I've got the pliers directly in your nose. The pitch that he made on the Gold Summit front, not just the pitch that he made to the five gangs that he's seeking to align and have team up so that they can challenge Sophia and Sal. But that was even the pitch he made to his own men, like to his own lieutenants initially, and like you said earlier, the parallel there with Sophia, when she said, none of you are made men except for Johnny here. The rest of you, you're pawns, you're overlooked, you're expendable. And then we move to the Gold Summit. And it's like, they run shit, we eat shit. And that's the pitch from Oz. And it's just
That was almost my line.
fantastic.
They run shit, we eat shit.
So
really
good.
Really good.
So good. I love too the additional like glimpses into the Rex obsession in these episodes, because we talked about this in the first pod. It was very clear that was the image that Oz was seeking for himself, the legacy that he was trying to cultivate.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to be the provider, but then the fact that he has really no awareness that he's also a cause of destruction, I felt was fascinating in these episodes. Like, he's bragging to Vic about how they're enriching the lives of the inhabitants of Crown Point, but then he's flooding every borough of Gotham with bliss. Like, he's a cause of harm,
Yes.
but he's going to sit there and talk about all the people he's helping. And he genuinely doesn't seem to see the difference. So I find that fascinating. And then he's just like, it's all legacy.
Turn the lights on.
He did get the lights on. The music as well. Ma loved it. Loved to dance.
I have a question about Rex Calabrese.
Mm-hmm.
As played by
Victor from Billions.
Okay. Billions is not a show that I enjoyed at all. But Louis can tell me is like, has shown up in Scorsese films, like, is just like a guy with a face. And I was just really excited to see him here. Do you think there's a version of events where Rex is his father?
I was going to ask you the same question.
Yeah. I didn't want to expose that I had missed a key line in a,
I guess it's possible we both did, but I don't think so. And I would say, just as it feels to me, I don't know if there's enough time for this in one episode, but it feels to me just like in the first 4 episodes, we were like, boy, we've gotten all this rich backstory for Victor, for Sophia. We have these like couple lines about Oz's brothers. It seems like there's more to come there. And then boy, was there. We have a lot of lines in these episodes about Oz's father, but we don't know the story there. Right. So, I think, and obviously Rex and Francis have had a relationship. Yeah. They had an interaction. So,
all right. If he didn't know Rex is his father and he finds out he was his father, will that destroy his idea of Rex as this like hero? Because he's like, he was right there and he didn't like take care of us, something like that. Like, I don't know, but it's just sort of like the Rex stuff feels like it has to be building towards something more than just like, this is who I'm modeling myself after,
So, okay, in real time, this is occurring to me because one of the things I was going to ask you is,
Joanna can turn any show into a theory show. Okay,
I love it. Go ahead. I didn't know quite how to make this work in my head. Like, I was trying to figure out how what Julian and Sophia are doing with Francis could lead to Francis finding out what Oz did with Jack and Benny. Yes. That was what I was trying to piece together because Francis doesn't know that Oz is responsible for that, clearly. But even just the way that Sophia repeated their names, I'm like, I feel like they're going to piece something together and present it to Francis and Oz, and something's going to come to a head there.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
This could be the thing.
It could be all part of it
as
like
well.
If Francis like spits that back at him, they weren't even like your brothers, or like something, like whatever.
Yeah, or like if she told Julian something, like under those red lights that Sophia can now use to.
I want to
disarm Oz.
Say really quickly, I'm sure you already knew this. I just made an error when talking about this last time. That the type of therapy that Dr. Julian Rush is using, questionable though his methods may be in general, is EMDR therapy is just like a way to uncover traumatic memories. So the lights and all the, so I was like, him with his spooky lights. And then we got emails from people like, actually, that is a well-respected method of therapy. So my apologies to you, Dr. Julian Rush. You're a creep, but not your light rig is innocent. Okay.
A lot of Julian talk today. I was going to say I was not anticipating this, but I was.
I love Theo Rossi. And I he's a wild card for me in the finale.
Oh yeah,
Same.
So
yeah.
lastly, on the why I picked Oz for most compelling character of the stretch front, just everything with Ma. Again, we've chatted about a lot of this already. The brother reveal, I've got more coming on that in another category. I think that the jealousy, now that we have the context of watching young Oz, the way that he, when his brothers came into the room, everything changed for Oz. He just wanted to be alone with his mother.
Yeah.
The way he's looking past Benny to make sure he can leer at Jack and Francis on the couch, it makes something like the look that Oz had for Victor and Francis during the breakfast scene when Francis was like patting Victor's cheek and, mistaking him for one of her sons and calling him Biscuit. And that makes me like, because I found the relationship between Francis and Victor, just like you, quite charming and sweet. Like watching them dance together was just the way he's caring for her. Like when he saw the bruise on her arm and he was so genuinely concerned, it makes us love Victor. But I saw that look on Oz's face and then we move on and understand his history. And I'm like, fuck. So all of that is very rich. And then that bathtub scene. First of all, let me say this. The water's fucking freezing. How long you been in here? That's what Adam says to me every time I've enjoyed a nice long bath listening to the watch.
When you listen to the watch in the bath, a core Mallory experience, do you ever quaff a glass of orange wine while you're doing so?
I don't actually.
But maybe you should.
Maybe I should start. Yeah. I don't drink wine in the bath, but maybe I'll start. Maybe this will be something I introduce into my life next year.
I also have to interrogate this apocryphal story you just told here because no episode of The Watch is long enough for the bath to go ice cold. House of R, sure.
A bath can turn cold in a 54-minute span.
Not that cold. I really feel like if you want to die from hypothermia in the bath, you got to tune into House of R. That's a promise.
Oh, man. Fair note. The way that Francis begged her son to kill her rather than letting her continue to deteriorate, as she put it, if my mind goes before my body is ready. And the tenderness, but also despair with which Oz greeted that, the tears in his eyes as he says, can't do it. And it ain't natural. And then the way that moved from right into this like very warped aspect of their relationship because we have his devotion to her.
Yeah.
But also the way that she speaks to him, like her response to that is, no, don't you pussy out on me, Oswald. It just was such a rich little sequence for their relationship. And so again, I ask now heading into the finale, do you think that this scene is setting up Oz letting Sophia kill Francis because he's basically already has permission?
I don't know.
More than permission from her.
I don't know that I can see that coming, but I can. It is very important for us, the audience, to know that Francis wants to die. So if Sophia kills her or something like that, that sort of like, lessens the crime of it because Francis is ready to go, stuff like that. When Francis says, we talked about this, I think I had trouble articulating myself around this when we were discussing the ways in which Lilia's episode in Agatha was sort of like this dementia metaphor, but like I find it very affecting when characters talk about dementia as like a thief. And I think specifically to contrast, her more confused episodes with how razor sharp she is with Sophia when she's able to focus. And then she like loses focus inside of that same scene. But like all of that is tremendously effective. Again, Deirdre O'Connell is really, really good. And I just think that like also to see the difference between Francis before she lost her sons to after she loses her sons, like that transition as well. With very little, like the show can be so effective with like very little actual screen time or explanation. It hinges on performance in a way that's very enriching. So
yeah. Even like the way we had heard her say, she couldn't do her numbers anymore, but we don't really understand what that means. And then we see in the next episode, the flashback, she's sitting, she's running the books, she's working I agree. Last thing on the Oz point, the humor, it's less voluminous in this stretch of episodes than the first half of the season, but it is still there. We did get to hear him say, who you missing? That skinny little pussy, Johnny Beatty. Milosh, the guy wore lifts in his shoes. We all knew it. Tough for Milosh and death there. All right. Maybe your pick for this next category will be Johnny. Maybe it'll be someone else. I don't know. Could be. Fifth superlative, the character you wish we had gotten to spend more time with in these 3 episodes, Joanna Robinson.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mallory Rubin. It would
Back to you in the studio.
It would have been. I did write Johnny Vini down.
Hell yeah.
If we had not already made like 10 different references to him. If this is the first time he came up, I would have been like, remember how we wanted more time with Johnny Vini? Rest in pieces. But my backup, and this is just as good, I think, in my own view, is Con O'Neill as Mackenzie Bach. Con O'Neill, who was in the Batman. This is another character connection to the Batman GCPD chief Bach. I thought his scene with Sophia was really good. I really love Con O'Neill as a performer in general.
Yeah.
His like super distinctive voice, everything about him. I just thought I really loved him in the Batman too, and so I would have loved to have seen more of him. And it made me go down the rabbit hole. I was like, what happened to that GCPD show they were going to do? And I was like, oh, it became that Arkham Asylum show, which then James Gunn killed. So because I was like, because we're getting these like GCPD sort of ties in this show. So I was like, are we trying to set something further up? And maybe it will pitch forward to the Batman 2. But anyway, Con O'Neill, legend. Justice for the Our Flag Means Death fans. Okay, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I love that show.
No, you did.
Love. I think you honored, as usual, the spirit of The Exorcist more. I think you honored the spirit of The Exercise more precisely than I did. I'm going with a character we actually got a few meaty scenes with, and we've talked about today, but the scenes were so good. It made me want even more. I'm going with Eve.
I agree. I really hope we get Eve. We've already loaded the finale with a bunch of expectations, so I don't know what room there is for Eve Carlo, but I would love to see her. Yeah, and like the way in which her girls were all so loyal to her, and the way in which she rejected, Oz's offer of leaving.
we had like 3 really good scenes that all built nicely on each other. We had her fury in the 5th episode that Oz showed no respect for the sanctity of her home by stashing Taj there and bringing his men there. And the thing I loved was that she called him out not only in her like apparent anger, but when she said to him, baby, do you even know when you're full of shit anymore? Because he's like, no, it's fine. This is all going exactly the way I wanted it to. And it's like, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was really important to know that she was a character who would say that to him. And yeah, like her, and then and later when he goes to get her after he's killed Nadia and Taj horrifically, and Sal is broken out. He's like, I got to make sure the people I love are safe. He goes for her. Later we'll hear her tell Sophia, like, he's not going to come for me. But we've seen that he did. Like, he does want to make sure she's okay. But then also we see all of the deception and lack of care inside of the relationship and inside of these scenes. Like, the in that prior scene when she was like, me and the girls, you dangled us in front of her because she thinks like he has opportunities to tell her that Sophia is not the hangman.
Yeah.
Many, not only over the years, but inside of these episodes, and doesn't, which made it even richer then when that was revealed to Eve from Sophia and that exchange. I loved that. And I just thought like the way that I was so scared in the scene when he went to get her and she refused to go with him, because we've seen how Oz responds to rejection.
Yeah.
The impulsive nature. I was genuinely terrified. And then he like kind of can't even look at her. He's, pounding on a table, but face downcast and saying like, fucking idiot, fucking dumb, stupid about himself. Like that he allowed himself to believe that this was real. But then when Sophia goes to Eve's apartment in episode 6, after Roxy led her there, I loved that. Same as with the headache. Easy money.
Easy money. So good.
Great businesswoman. I loved the way that even though we have already seen that Eve decided not to go with Oz, she was ready to defend her relationship with him to Sophia. And more than that, to expose the limitation that Sophia has in not being able to understand that people can have different types of connection with each other or look for different things in a relationship with each other, right? Like, we obviously had the clip that we heard already, but then like across the scene when Sophia says he pays you, I presume, so it can't be love. And Eve says, like, must be nice. You were born into opportunity, so you can afford to think in black and white. What I got with Oz, it ain't just one thing. I know what he is. A liar, a narcissist, killer, but we all got our shit. I just loved that. And then the way that she sat down. I also love the fact that, like, and this is actually something they discuss actively in the beginning of the scene. She opens the door in her sweats, right? Like, she's not all
and
done
Sophia's
up.
like, has Oz seen you like this? And she's like,
Yeah, she's like, he doesn't like
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that was all
And we see
so
all the
good.
I was wondering,
Yeah.
we've been asking again, there's no room for this in the finale, and this is probably the end of this story again under the James Gunn administration, but like the number of wigs she has there that, like, you know, so her last name, Carlo.
Big for you.
Well, yeah, but like her last name, Carlo, had people asking, like, is she connected to Clayface at all or something like that? But like she has this sort of shape-shifting quality to her because she like makes herself look a certain way for whatever her clientele happens to be. And so in that way, it's like Clayface and Jace. But yeah, I would love to spend more time with some of these characters. It's really sad that we only have one more episode.
I know. It feels like a really well-paced season, but I do wish we had more time.
That's the most Baltimore you've ever sounded in your life.
I know. I'm going down to the ocean, hon. I know.
Orange wine.
Oh man. Eve, great character. I loved how she was able to earn Sophia's respect there too, right? With like the commitment and devotion she has to her girls and the way that works in all directions. That was great. And then just like the choice that she makes to tell Sophia, Crown Point, go to Crown Point. Like, you deserve your shot. That on the heels of the Oz didn't tell you I was the hangman. He just let my dad keep killing your friends reveal. That was all just very rich. Great stuff. All right, Joe, what do you have for our next category, which is most illuminating flashback and or trip down memory lane? So it doesn't actually have to be one of the flashback scenes that we got, since those were more limited in number in this stretch of episodes. It can be. Or it could just be a story that somebody tells about the past. It can be anything.
Originally, this category was just most illuminating flashback, and I had not watched the final episode yet, and I was like, wow, it must be riddled with flashbacks. And then I only got like 2.
But they were great.
And then you changed the category, which I appreciated, and I thought about changing it to something else. But that the young Oz Cobb kills his brothers.
How could it not be this? Come on.
I thought it was really well done. I thought I like that Jack and Benny. I mean, I like that they weren't assholes. You know what I mean? They didn't like bully their brother. I don't think they felt like they really understood him or felt like that Oz feeling aggrieved.
Yeah.
Wasn't connected to them actually being assholes to him. They did this hide and seek, and he's like, I can't go down there. And then they sort of like immediately apologize.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's just like,
it seemed like that was more like a lack of thought rather than seeking to actively harm him.
And then the Midnight Boys had this debate about whether or not, we feel like what Oz did here was actually murder.
Yes.
Okay. And I was rewatching it, sort of trying to think about that, and like him snuggle on the couch with his mom, watching Fred Astaire, and an iconic sequence from a film called Top Hat, is every time he just like looks at the rain and doesn't look like troubled.
Yeah.
Not really troubled. And like there's a version of the story where Oz doesn't tell his mom because he's like scared about getting in trouble for what he did.
Yeah.
There's more anxiety, there's more concern, there's more blah blah, but he just looks like cozy and comfy, getting little head smooches from Francis, in his happy space, watching Fred Astaire do his thing. Absolutely disturbing. You know what I mean? And like, so Oz, a character, again, this show has been so good at making us feel empathy. We're just describing how Oz reacts to Eve saying, I'm not going to come with you to Crown Point. And he's like turning it inward, stupid, all this sort of stuff like that. And I immediately feel like so soft towards him in that regard. And the show can constantly do this, but show us that from a very young age, there's something missing inside of Oz Cobb, that he didn't just impulsively do this to his brothers and then like couldn't undo it. He ignored every opportunity to undo it. And that's where we land. So yeah, I'm going to call it Moida in my
definitely.
from my perspective. Moida most foul.
Oh man. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we already have chatted a lot about everything earlier in the scene, the way that he's the air in the room shifts when his brothers come in and how keenly we can sense that he just wants it to be the two of them. Even the musical accompaniment, Islands in the Stream, Hold Me Closer and I Feel No Pain. We hear like, this is where we get to hear like at the young age, he's hearing this, my big, strong bull of a boy talk from Francis. The response to like, Jack's like, don't, you stay there. Mom doesn't want you talking to Rex. And he's like, hey, Rex, right? And he's like, the gold car, holy shit, the money, oh my God, $50. And it's like, I know what he is. He's a gangster. And he says it with kind of like awe in his voice, right?
Very
and
good fellas. Yeah.
Yeah. And my heart broke for him when he couldn't go down the ladder and says, it's hard for me. But I love that there's a debate about it and like that it's open to interpretation. But for me, he has every opportunity to go back and open that hatch to tell his mom to confess what he did and have her go help them. And he doesn't. And he looks happy that he hasn't done it. And like, even when he gets home,
even if he didn't know necessarily that like closing that hatch would mean that the kids would drown, the fact that they were missing in this torrential downpour.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything.
It's also like has a large label on it that says overflow tunnel.
Yeah.
And like we're led to understand that they spend time in that area playing. Like I don't know, like they have the coins, like
the way that they start gurgling.
Oh my God. The cutting, I thought this was great editing, the cutting back and forth to Oz snuggled on the couch and Jack and Benny crying out and then the silence.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Then just the water pouring out.
Yeah. But even just like right when he gets home, right? And he's telling this lie about them. They went to the movie Beetlejuice. And, again, like later, Francis is like, what movie did you say it was again? Because like, I might have to go pick them up. He has every chance and he just never changes his mind. But just the way when she was like, Jack shouldn't have let you walk home by yourself. And he says, I don't need Jack's help. Like he has decided that he wants to be the only boy. This was absolutely harrowing and deeply, deeply disturbing to watch. And, later, the second flashback in the episode, we have heard Oz talk about this. We heard him tell Sophia at Al's funeral about the state that his mother was in after his brothers died. And then that night when she took him dancing. And now we understand what led to that. And it's just all plays differently. I liked how these flashbacks recontextualize the earlier moments where Oz has referenced his brothers to somebody, like,
but also
even
also Frances, like in her sequined finery and them like, any like dancing that she has done throughout the season. It's horrifying.
Yeah. You deserve the best life. I'm going to get it for you. I promise. Right. And it's like, that was from her and her moment. From her perspective, that moment is pulling herself out of it, but she has no idea why she's in that state to begin with. Yeah. And I thought like, not just something like mentioning the brothers in episode 2 to Sophia, but even in this more recent batch of episodes, like Victor asks him in episode 5 what happened to Jack and Benny, and Oz says the city took him.
When he said that,
just like it took your family. Like Victor's family died in a
flood,
terrorist attack in a flood. Like Oz left his brothers. He could have gone and opened that door. That's not
when he said that. When he's like the city took them, I was like, and so. Not to overthink these things, but like that's what we do. But like, does Oz think of himself somehow as Gotham itself? He's like, I took him, the city took them, but then also he also like hates Gotham and he loves Gotham, and it's all just sort of very messy and Freudian.
That sounds like you're describing Gollum, just as he hates and loves himself.
Wonderful. It's almost time.
Oh man. From this very disturbing moment into our next category.
You mean disturbing moment?
Most disturbing moment? Is it a particular bit of accent work? What will you pick?
Jesus for the newsies. Okay, listen. It's hard to compete with the gurgling cries of Jack and Benny.
Very upsetting.
But
very upsetting.
Another elemental death would be the fire roasting of the Maronis.
Dude, this was Oz later being like,
that's
what
the most-
hairspray did she
That's
wear?
the most. That is actually my most disturbing part. It is
fuck?
them going up in flames, and also that that Nadia had genuinely kind of had time to get out of the way, and she couldn't leave Taj, and that's why she went up in flames. Do you disagree?
Okay, so you think she smelled that her child was saturated in gasoline but stayed there rather than not knowing that he was covered in gasoline?
Well,
That makes
him.
more sense to me, actually.
There were yeah. I mean, I just think she had time. When Taj went up, I was like, oh, she could be fine.
Yeah.
But then she stayed so close to him, and then she went up as well. But yeah, the hairspray comment later was actually, I think, the most disturbing moment because it was bad enough to watch it happen, but
Very tough.
to make a hairspray joke about it later was tough.
So that's beyond the pale.
I think so.
Oz. You keep saying you have a code, but do you?
Omerta or no? Okay, yeah.
Oh man, my pick is Victor killing Squid. I was so sad when this happened.
Not for you,
This
Squid.
shook me, Joe. It shook me. I mean, we
Yeah.
see Vic at the beginning of the episode, arrive with his new Jordans, and he's on his bike, and he's got the gun. We know he has the gun. We saw at the end of the prior episode 5, that Squid had spotted him, that he saw Francis, he saw Victor. We can feel
knew
that
it was
we're
coming.
moving toward a conflict here. I thought that the tension to this moment built in actually kind of a predictable fashion, but I still found the emotional wallop of it very impactful. Vic trying to talk to Oz about it, and Oz is so preoccupied. So Vic just wants to prove that he can handle it on his own, and then trying to work Squid and evade him and dupe him and buy him off. And then the way that Squid threatens him and goads him and says, see, you're a man now, Victor. You don't got to make it so hard on yourself. And I don't know, I couldn't stop thinking about how before the Riddler's attack, what we saw in the flashback, Vic just wants to be with his girlfriend and enjoy a night on the roof. He doesn't even want to be near Squid.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to be near him. And now he leads him down that stairwell and turns and shoots him and watches him bleed out and gurgle. Speaking of gurgling, gurgle and die, the choice to have the bullet hit kind of the side of his neck so that it was a kind of protracted, anguished sequence. And Vic's reaction to it, he's just he's a husk after this, both in the immediate sequence where he goes to Oz and Oz can tell what happened, even though Victor doesn't say it, just from how he's carrying himself and the look on his eyes. And then later when he sees the blood specks on his shoes and is trying to scrub it off before the power comes back on. And then from that loss of innocence, the crossing of that Rubicon, because even driving the car into Nadia's goons
and
was more
lightly bruising his pelvis.
just a scratch on the hip.
Yeah.
Even that was more oh my God, I'm returning and I see this thing and I act on instinct. He has to know when he goes to Squid that if the money doesn't work, he's going to have to do this thing. This felt like crossing a Rubicon in a different way to me.
No, I agree.
And so
I
then
agree. His reaction, because when he crashes the car, it's should we get Sophia? There's adrenaline or whatever.
Adrenaline, yeah, exactly.
The actual, the absolute devastation, of having felt like he had no other choice but to do this.
Yeah. And then to go from seeing the blood on his shoes to that dance with Francis, I don't know, to confront where he was in his life versus where he could be or where he wanted to be, that kind of mother-son moment. It was just, shook me. Really shook me. Vic. Hope Vic is okay. Hope Vic makes it out.
It was quite disturbing. Yeah.
I mean, Vic is MIA at the end of this episode. It's we can't
he's
get in touch
getting an
with
army.
him. Getting an army, but he's not answering his cell phone.
Army.
Will he show up just in the nick of time yet again? Joanna.
Yeah.
Our next category is most captivating.
Do you think
location.
he's going to show up with the hot Latina lesbians who clearly run their own hot Latina lesbian gang that were at the Gold Summit? I want to know everything about them. They seemed amazing. Okay. It was like the TV show Vita. Okay. Most captivating location. We're gonna zip through these last couple, I think. I gotta give it to, we're in a Batman show. We live in an underground lair. I have to give it to the sewers. Yeah. Penguin in the comics, there's Gotham Underground, the Underground Railroad of like criminals, blah, blah, blah. But like the Penguin in the sewer is so Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito. Batman Returns is I think my favorite Batman movie. And so I was just like, I know there was like a Burgess Meredith reference, I think, to the actor who played the Penguin in the Adam West Batman movie and show, but this to me feels like the homage to Burton and Batman Returns, and I love
this.
It.
Isn't a water world in the source, but still, we're under the streets in a secret lair where the Penguin is like, it's set up HQ.
Yeah.
It's really difficult not to think of the Burton.
Yeah.
The Burton sequence. I also was thinking about Arpats, about the Batman, and about the fact that like he, of course, he enters his Batcave on that track, the rail track. So like I had been wondering, I now find this less likely after the explosion because Oz isn't going to be down there anymore. But I was like, are we building toward a run-in with Batman in the tunnels here, like in the trolley tunnels?
Mallory's on the subreddit being like, Arpat's cameo for the finale, Mephisto, when?
I probably should spend more time on Reddit. I don't really, but it does feel like maybe my home.
What? Okay,
for Mephisto
out
theories,
of 10,
yeah.
What's the likelihood we get an Arpat's cameo in the finale of the Penguin?
I'm at like a 5. I really could go either way on it. I don't know.
I'm like at a 1.
It felt to me like, it feels to me unlikely in the universe of the show.
I feel like it's more likely we get a Jeffrey Wright, maybe a Jeffrey Wright cameo.
Yeah.
And that's still like 304 to me. Arpats feels wildly unlikely, but
I'm not expecting it. I'm not expecting it, especially now not that the tunnel has gone boom.
That would be like really comical though if they just like passed each other like like in those old Looney Tune cartoons where
is this your commute too?
It's like the sheepdog and the wolf and the old Looney, and it's just sort of like they clock in and clock out and they're like, morning, Ralph. Anyway, that
would be great. It does feel like Batman would be involved at this point. I will say that is a little odd, but
that's the MCU problem where it's like, where is Iron Man in this story where Iron Man certainly would have gotten involved at this point?
Yeah, I think particularly given that these are characters who interacted in this exact space and span of time in the film, it's odd. But
all
anyway,
hold hands.
Yeah,
in a prayer circle or a witch's summoning if you prefer, and hope that Arpats' Batman is off fucking Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman in the neighboring town.
That's where I would want to be. That's where I would want to be. Joe, big moment for us on the pod with tunnels recently. You know, we had our Westview subway. Now this.
That's
great stuff.
I thought when he was like, "Oh, it's the underground tram." I was like, "Oh my god, are you going to the witch's road?"
I really did love that. Like again, Sal is just like a sewer rat. And kind of hand waves. This is like a filthy, laughable place. And Oz looks at it and sees only potential. It's humid. It's a good place to grow mushrooms. It's hidden. Yeah. They're so busy with their noses up, they'll never think to look down. It's connected. We're going to have access to the entire city. It's a chance to be more like Rex. I can give the people in Crown Point opportunity and money. And again, I honestly just cannot get over the fact that he has set up shop in the place where he let his brothers die. I just cannot get over it.
Do you think
it's such a great touch?
Do you think when someone said sewer rat, he was like, El Rata Alada?
I certainly thought that. How could we not? Goodness.
Okay, we're on a Rata Alada.
That was just a fantastic
moment. It's the worst Spanish I've ever heard. All right.
It's really great. Joe, we have 2 categories left, and they're both big ones for you. I'm excited for them as well, but it's really Joe core here at the end. We're talking music, we're talking wigs.
It's a gift.
All right. Number 9, favorite musical moment. We had like a ton of needle drops in these episodes. What are you going with?
This is a tough one. Cause like Glow Little Glowworm was like pretty wonderful.
That's my runner-up.
The Police was pretty wonderful. But for me, it has to be Yazoo's Only You. Yeah?
That's what I'm going with. Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, that's always going to be my pick whenever it's a needle drop. Like Fringe, The Americans, normal people. I just fucking love it.
I was going to say,
always.
Can't Hardly Wait. the Americans, normal people. Also, I think I'm sure I've embarrassingly told you that I was in an a cappella group in college, and we sang that.
I don't find that embarrassing.
And we sang this
Find that
song.
wonderful.
So if you ever want like the
Do
background,
you have a recording? Can you send it to me?
no. But if ever off mic you want me to like do the bada 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 background,
I do.
score
Let's
for
do it right
you.
now.
No.
All I needed was the love you gave.
There's just like a synth
day.
breakdown in that song where it's like bada 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 da da bada da 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 da.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
It's a
Banger.
great song. Anytime it's deployed in a show, it works. Anytime. But the specific, like Oz coming back from leaving his brothers locked in a flooding hatch, and this is playing as he just like hugs his mom.
And he's like, only
Absolutely
you, only
perfect.
me, just the two of us forever. It's fine.
All I ever knew. Only you.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay. I wonder if we'll have the same for our final category, which is Fitlord / Wig Watch. Rich text.
I mean, the ongoing mulletification of Sophia's hair
All right.
cannot be ignored. But
Talk to me about this.
I
please.
mean, it's just
Where are you on the party mullet?
oh, well,
You love it.
because she went from like the shag to
Yeah.
the
I
full-blown
loved
mullet.
the shag.
The shag was
I miss the shag.
The shag was more, I would say, conventionally aesthetically pleasing. I just really like the boldness of the mullet.
Yeah.
Like, and also I like to imagine that she did that to herself. Like very Azula at the end of Avatar, like in the mirror, thinking about her mom. And just sort of making bold decisions with the scissors. So on the mullet front, it's her whole look. When she went to go see Gia, she's got the mullet, she's got a fur, a dramatic fur, and then of many dramatic furs that she wears. And then she looked in the mirror and she said, okay, I've done the thick black line, my usual, but that's not enough for this scenario. So I've added a double thick purple liner above the black liner. It's a look. It's incredible. It's giving maternal.
It is. It really is.
It's giving, I'm definitely not the villain that killed your family. Like, it's a great look. I loved it.
It's sensational. I pre-mullet, I really enjoyed when because it seemed to me like she was going through her mother's closet, right? Is that how? Yeah. So when she drapes herself in the fur and then it's cascading off one shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the scars are visible as she's launching the Gigante family at the table. That was really great. The mullet's just astonishing. Fantastic
a series
stuff.
of like negligee-esque tops. Like it's just a lot of spaghetti straps and lace and satin and fur from the absolute shit show style icon that is Sophia Gigante. I loved her.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm staying on Sophia, but I'm going to give the award actually to Frances for the quote you already shared. Like, what are you going to do next? Dye your hair pink? Get an ass tattoo? Who knows? Do we have time for it in the finale? Maybe. I hope.
We've already built the tattoo parlor set. It's just sitting there.
That's right.
Empty ever since
it took some
Taj,
damage.
R.I.P., you know? So, yeah.
Oh, Taj. I was really worried about Taj when, the fresh ink and they like knock him down into the pavement. I'm like, man, it's going to hurt. It's going to be infected. Didn't matter. It didn't matter for long.
They sealed it all in with a nice sear.
We don't have time for any aquaphor. No, nothing. Didn't matter.
How's your tattoo feeling?
Doing great.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely
I love
loving
mine
it.
too. Yeah.
Loving it. Loving it. If anyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We got matching tattoos.
We did.
We put the apple wars onto our bodies forever. You can see our photos on Instagram. I love mine.
I love yours. I love mine.
I can't
as well.
show it right now because I have a sweatshirt on, but yeah, it's doing great.
It looks great. I love it.
I'm ready for another.
Okay. Let me know. We'll go back.
Oh man. Okay, we did it. Anything else on the Penguin episodes 5, 6, and 7? Anything else on the finale to come?
Yes.
We'll be back in mere days for more Penguin talk.
Mere
so that's exciting.
moments. I'm really excited for that. I just want to say, as ever, Mallory Rubin, I enjoy these episodes so much more after having talked to you about them. I love doing this podcast with you, and I kind of wish schedule had permitted for us to do this as like a week-to-week watch.
Me too.
I think I would have enjoyed everything a lot more if I had gotten to talk to you about it every week, but I'm really excited to dig into the finale with you. We may or may not have a special guest for that episode. We're going to see if that pans out. And
is it Johnny Vitti from the grave?
Michael Kelly. Michael Kelly. Tell us what it means to be a made man and then just like gone the next second.
Oh, wonderful stuff. All right. We did it.
We did.
We deserve a happy life, don't we? just like Francis. You can dance while you think about it, but that's a wrap. That's a wrap on today's pod. Thank you to our family, Steve Allman, for producing this episode. Arjuna Ramgopal for his additional production supervision. Jomia Danaran for his work on the social. And on the video front today, Stefano Sanchez.
Legend.
John Richter.
Award-winning.
That's
Award-winning John Richter.
Congratulations to John for his Signal Awards win for transmissions from Colony One.
We're so proud.
Most innovative audio experience. John, you did it. We're thrilled.
Yeah.
So cool. And today, additional video assistance from Alea.
Oh, hey, Alea.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're honored.
Thrilled.
All right, we will see everybody at the end of the week for a podcast
About something.
about stuff that we're excited to talk about.
Yep.
And at the top of next week for the Penguin finale. Until then, Jesus, Sophia, pick a fucking lane.